Good afternoon, and we're here. It is the last webinar of the year for Planet IT. It feels mad to be saying it's December, and thanks for all of you for joining today to sit and listen to me talk about this. You're lucky it's only 15 minutes, short, sharp, and sweet, as it is December, and I know all of us are probably feeling those winter blues a little bit. So thank you for joining us as we go through this. So today, I just want to talk to you really quickly about identity and the threats we're seeing. So it should be a really interesting conversation for the next 15 minutes. For those of you who don't know me, I'm James Dell. I'm Technical Architecture Director here at Planet IT. My job is to show you products like this and to make sure that you understand the threats that exist in the world around you. So hopefully you'll find this presentation quite enlightening. And if you do have any questions at any point, please do use the question and answer function. I will get to them at the end because I appreciate I've said 15 minutes, so I'm going to try my very best to stick to 15 minutes. And as always, I promise there'll be prizes for you for taking on today's 15-minute webinar. So at the end, there will be some Amazon vouchers that I will give away, because who doesn't need Amazon vouchers to spend on their Christmas shopping at this time of year? So stick with me to the end of the end of the show, and I'll get you the draw up and running for you. And any of you who don't know Planet IT or are joining, this is your first time joining a Planet webinar, the last one of the year, nice time to join. We are, a trusted partner of so many organizations, from education through private sector, through biomed, and into the non-for-profit sector. There's no vertical that Planet doesn't work with, but these are just some of those big names that we provide to. And we provide services across the board, including cybersecurity, which is what I'm here to talk to you about today. Right, that's the intro over, 2 minutes down. Let's get into the main bit. So as we stand today, bring your own device, working from home, cloud adoption trends are creating new avenues for threat actors to exploit. And the difficulty for endpoint security products is they just don't protect against them. So identity has become one of the primary controls for all organizations to protect themselves. But identity and access management is difficult and complex, with constant changes, with account policies, platform changes, configurations and settings. It's made more and more complex when you're trying to map just employees to devices, but then beyond that, employees to multiple devices and multiple applications and different organizational controls. Ultimately, identity is the new perimeter. It's not the firewall anymore. This is where your risks are coming from. And because it's complex, 95% of organizations have a critical identity misconfiguration. So that's pretty bad. And I'll show you some data later on, and it shows how easy it is to find these things. And 90% of organizations have experienced an identity-based breach in the last year. And let's be honest, we all see it all over the news, credentials getting lost, people's passwords turning up online. This happens all of the time. And as in kind of an ecosystem, it fuels the cyber criminals. They're able to drive their crimes forward because of how much data is out there, how easy it is to get hold of, and how complex the environments have become, and therefore people struggle to configure them. So where we've ended up is we have a lot of siloed solutions. One of the big silo systems being, let's look at it, to be honest, Microsoft 365, where your identity exists, but there may be misconfigurations, weak policies. If there's not, there's a lot of manual effort to make sure that's correct, and to make sure that you're not only to best practice, but you're in a way where you're actually protecting the system as you should be. There is also very low visibility into identity threats, into stolen credentials, into user behavior, because especially a platform like Microsoft 365 puts this behind log data and buries it away inside of a security portal, which isn't the most intuitive. So the most common way for people to look at this is to extract the data, merge it together in a spreadsheet and sit and go through it, or take it into a SIEM SOAR tool if you have the team size or the skill to do it. So when we talk about ITDR, or identity detection and response, what we're talking about doing is quickly looking at that environment and identifying and prioritizing the security gaps to reduce risk. We're then looking at detecting and responding with sophisticated identity-based threat protection. We're looking for anomalies in activity and exposed credentials, and we're benchmarking the organization and its constant risk over time. It's a big shift from it being a silo to it being something that you care about. Now, for nearly all of you on this call, you'll either be a Sophos XDR customer or a Sophos MDR customer. And for many of you, you'll be thinking, hold on, there's an integration for Microsoft 365 or for Google Workspace, for my identity provider, Okta, whatever it may be, into Sophos Central. So what's it doing at the moment? Well, let's keep it really simple. From an XDR point of view, it is looking at detections of stolen credentials, business email compromise, and account compromise. But it's looking for where those risk factors are stacked. And the response actions it is delivering, the ability to lock accounts, disable users, revoke sessions, and disable inbox rules. With MDR, it's the same information that's being pumped into the system. It's just that the MDR team are there to manage that data. But you'll notice it's a very small subset of what your identity really means when we talk about identity in the terms of something like Microsoft 365. You know, there's 600,000 customers that are using Sophos from a XDR, MDR point of view, and ultimately the data they're pulling in is only able to sort of filter through the tools that are enabled by Microsoft. When we layer on Sophos's ITDR product, what we're actually doing is adding in those additional protections and gap coverage. So the first one is that we are identifying the security gaps inside of Microsoft Entra ID. That is basic IAM configuration for every user and for the platform. You're then getting a clear posture dashboard, which shows you the risk score and gives you a prioritized list of findings based on the risk to your organization, with a catalog of all your users, all your devices, all your applications, all your groups that exist inside of Entra ID, with the ability for you to then dive into it. You then have full credential monitoring, and this is going beyond just saying, oh, what's going on? We're talking about where has your identity appeared in another list that's either on the dark web or via third-party data breaches that contains either a hash or a full password that could enable a bad actor to then compromise your business system. Let's be honest, you can't control what users do with passwords, but so many of your users will be using the same password for your system as they will for their banking, as they will for their online shopping. And one of those systems can easily get breached, and then their password surfaces. And many people will be using their business email at the same time because people just tend to do that. And then obviously you are going to be able to monitor your risky users and risky behavior. The big one here is users logging into multiple locations, unnatural or unbelievable travel, those changes in IP address, the change in device type. After you've got ITDR in place, it can start to go, well, it always knows that James uses a MacBook, so therefore he appears on Safari, and therefore he appears in the UK. And when I suddenly appear on a Windows device in America, suddenly all those risks will stack up, and Sophos and the system are going to go, hold on, this is a high risk incident now, because actually all of those markers are in place. And this doesn't take away from the protection that already exists inside of the XDR and MDR product line, it just adds on top of it. So, as I said, your Sophos MDR essentially is there to investigate threats and respond to them. Now, once you add ITDR as this add-on, the big thing that you get is you give all of this data to from Microsoft 365, from Entra ID, into the Sophos MDR team, and you give them the ability to take that information and act on your behalf. So they're able to reduce your attack surface. They're able to take the information about risky user behavior and act upon it and push to a solution, which you would not be able to do without the information that ITDR provides. So it's giving that greater visibility. So, just as some really brief kind of examples of where it happens, you've got credential leaks on the dark web. So the ITDR team are able to find user credentials for sale on the dark web marketplaces, and the MDR analyst can then lock these user accounts out, force a password reset, force new tokens, force new hashes. And if those stolen credentials are still in use, Sophos is able to follow those suspicious logons and then make the right choice around those compromised accounts. So what does it look like? if you've used Sophos Central, the big thing here is this sits inside of Sophos Central, sits under your product and under your products tab, and it will come up as identity. Once you first set it up, what you will see is a risk score, which you can see there, like the standard chart showing how risky your environment is. You'll be able to see the number of detections. You'll be able to see the top findings. Now, this will be with clear actions that you need to take. So this might be, there's a configuration error in your conditional access policy. There is devices or apps that are exposed. It gives you all of the tools that you need to go and make these changes. Or if these risks have been put in because you needed to, you've generated a loophole in your security for a specific application or reason, you can acknowledge and mark those as an accepted risk, which is a big thing here, right? So we're not saying that all IAM configurations are wrong. Some of them will have been done on purpose, but you need to be able to mark those and say, actually, I understand this is a misconfiguration against best practice, but I've done so to enable me to access more of the system. When you dive into the data, then you'll be able to see the stolen credentials and the risk level from every user account, every email address, every identity that exists in your environment. Now, I can talk about this, but what I think is better to do is to show you. And what I've got here is an anonymized screenshot from a client. We rolled this out for a client, and within 2 hours, this is the level of information that we're seeing. So we are seeing credentials that have been sold on the dark web. And as you can see there, we can see plain text passwords that are currently available to be purchased. And you can see the risks go back from everything from a year to, in this case, 7 days after we installed the ITDR product, and we were able to see that. We can then start to take actions. And if you have the MDR service, the Sophos team will start to take actions, and this will feed into your risk score. The same with information coming through impersonation emails that are picked up by your Microsoft 365 system. The information is all surfaced, and it enables you to take better control. Now, the advantage over other dark web scanning tools versus using Sophos ITDR is it's integrated. That indicator of compromise, that risk portfolio is merged into your protection platform. You're not getting a list that's set externally that someone else has to action. You are getting data inside of the platform. And as I mentioned, you'll also get the flags for those users that are top risk, so much so that anyone that's coming from an unknown IP to your tenant, someone who's coming in from somewhere different ASNs, different user agents and different device types, all these things get picked up, and then it flags and it moves the users up the chain. If those users are an actual risk, these indicators of potential compromise will help the MDR team respond more quickly. And if you're an XDR customer, will surface to you all these risks so you can resolve them. Now, I would not be surprised if many of you were to take this product today that you would find that your environment is quite high risk. But the good news is it's very quick to pull that back down and to patch those holes because you know they exist. Now, this for me was the easiest slide to show you in terms of most of you will be going, hold on, well, I've got Microsoft Entra ID. So what does that do? Well, Microsoft Entra ID provides the actual IAM platform. It provides the authentication SSO and MFA. It provides the identity management, the privileged identity management. It provides conditional access, but it doesn't protect them. So where does ITDR come in? Well, ITDR gives you that exposure risk protection. It gives you that single console to monitor your identity risk as well as your other security risks. It enriches all of your other cases with identity context. It provides dark web monitoring for credential leaks, and it will accelerate the time to resolution. It is very much a better together journey, where if you use both products, you can really leverage the tools. Now, if you're looking at this and going, hold on, I'm a Google Workspace customer, or I'm using another identity provider, I'm on premise, don't worry, that is all coming soon. But Microsoft Entra ID is the biggest exposure risk for organization, or most organizations in the UK, and that's why this product's come out first. So if you are on another IDP and you're thinking, hold on, this isn't right for me, next year the product will have those features for your provider. If you're a Microsoft 365 customer today, then you already have these risks, and therefore you need to be on top of them. That is very much my whistle-stop tour of Sophos ITDR. What I would leave you with is the thought that if you currently are using Microsoft 365, you have these risks. And even if you go, oh, I've got quite a good secure score, or I know what my secure score is, and I think my configurations are all right, I can guarantee you, once you integrate this product into your environment and pull the data in, you will find risks you didn't even know you had. And when you start looking at the dark web data, it is pretty terrifying the amount of user data that's out there about your users with passwords that have been exposed that would allow them still to gain access to your system. So take action now because your identity is under attack. All that said, next year, I'm going to be doing a webinar at the end of January talking about the whole threat landscape for 2026. This is going to be a deep dive for a whole hour about what we're seeing and all of these kind of things that are going on. So scan the QR code or click the link in the chat to get signed up for that. And I promise you, I'm probably going to have giveaways to give away on that one as well. And we do have our education roundtable already booked in for February. So if you're in the education space, join us to have a whole day with access to some leaders from Microsoft, from Sophos, from Enable, and from Arrow, and others that will be joining us to go over and talk about how IT really fits inside of an educational environment. Now, you've all sat through 16 minutes of me talking, so I will do the giveaway. What I will say is I've got 3 giveaways, 3 £100 Amazon vouchers to give away for data protection reasons, and because obviously we can't give everyone's names away. Everyone's names have been anonymized like this. So you have your first initial of your first name, first initial surname, and the first letter of the company you work for. Our account managers have a list that matches to this. So once I've done this, they will reach out to you if you're a winner. So let me just swap screen quickly and I will get that up for you. Right, here we go. Good luck, everyone. Hopefully you can all see that and we will pick our first winner. Oh, first winner is DEA. Our second winner is going to be GSB, and our final winner is LAK. So as I mentioned, your account manager will be in contact with you to talk about how you get those prizes if you were a winner. So thank you for joining me. If you do have any questions and you think, oh, I really wish that I'd asked that, then you are always welcome to reach out to me. My details are on the screen. There is some questions inside of the Q&A, so I will go through that, but I do appreciate that I have reached the end of the 15 minutes I promised you. So, you are excused if you want to leave, but let's quickly look at these questions. So if you're using another third-party web monitoring system, ITDR works completely alongside that. The data is taken from the core platform. So it's taken from Graph API from inside of Microsoft 365. So it can be done completely agnostic to everything else you have. All you need to have is Sophos XDR or Sophos MDR as a platform for this data to be ingested into. The other thing that's worth saying is this is one of the most competitively priced products from Sophos, so it's definitely worth looking at. We're not talking about remortgaging your house to buy one of these things. That's the whole point. So what I would say is if you are a Microsoft 365 customer today, don't leave it until January. Don't let the risks fester. Reach out to your account manager, get a price. It's something that you could have deployed and working by the end of this week if you really wanted to. I really appreciate your time. Thank you very much for joining me. And that is Sophos ITDR in just under 15 minutes. Have a great one, and I will see you for the next set of events in 2026. Goodbye.